Zealoters, thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. The ground is shifting in West Africa, and what we are looking at is not just a localized conflict. It is a modern proxy war being fought on African soil, or at least that is exactly how General Issa Diawara sees it. When you listen to the words of General Issa, a prominent voice from the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, you quickly realize this isn't a standard diplomatic briefing. This is a frontline warning. He isn't talking about soft power or standard foreign aid. He is pointing directly at what he calls a systematic attempt to destabilize sovereign African nations, specifically targeting the borders of Mali and Burkina Faso. For years, the global narrative has framed the instability in the Sahel as a purely internal crisis, a mix of local governance, failures and extremist insurgencies. But General Issa tears that narrative apart. He points a finger directly at a quiet alliance forming between Paris, Abidjan, and Kiev. At the center of General Issa's analysis is a specific timeline and a series of high-level movements. He focuses heavily on the action of Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara, questioning his frequent trips to Paris, most notably a critical visit on July 3, 2026. According to Issa, these trips are not routine diplomatic consultations. He explicitly claims that French President Emmanuel Macron summoned Alassane Ouattara to pitch a highly dangerous initiative, what he terms Macron-Zelensky project. The core of this alleged project is the development of Ukrainian forces and specialized contractors along the sensitive borders of Mali and Burkina Faso, stationed securely on the Ivorian side under the protection and authorization of Ouattara's government.
Why is Mr. Dramana Ouattara going to Paris? Specifically, it concerns his trip on July 3rd, 2026. We investigated and found the information. Macron is calling him to discuss a Franco-Zelensky project. Because it must be said like that, especially Macron-Zelensky. No, it's a project aimed at installing Mr. Zelensky's mercenaries along the Mali-Burkina border, but on the side of Côte d'Ivoire from Mr. Alassane Dramane Ouattara's side. That's the case. Zelensky, every time there are attacks against an eastern country, as is often the case, and the most notable case is the ambush set for the Malian army in Tinzawatene. Officials from Zelensky, that is to say from Ukraine, have asserted having participated in such actions. And you knew since 2022, Mr. Zelensky, always with the help of the young French woman, has opened many embassies all around us. And it is in this context that Mr. Alassane Dramane Ouattara, already affected by age, but who continues to be called upon by Mr. Emmanuel Macron, that's Brigitte's son. Don't forget, Macron did not hesitate to summon 5 African heads of state.
He did, yes, Mr. Emmanuel Macron. He called the head of state. Come clarify your position if he had. And he continues with Dramane. Dramane, every time on the plane, he went to answer Macron's call. And things are clear. He is asset. I had already told you about a cargo plane of Zelensky, who arrived in Côte d'Ivoire after transiting through a French base, and later a terrorist who had been arrested confessed to having succeeded, having been trained by these people. They managed to get equipment, instructors arrived in this context. And the same thing continues. And the most irrefutable proof is the drones we neutralize. Drones are actually drones that were supposed to be used over there in Ukraine, but are found here. It's sad.
How can a country that claims to be attacked
is in the process of attacking African countries. Oh no, you do not have the right to collaborate with such. I said, but since when does that exist in the world? The same ones who say it?
I greet in passing our very respected, the great Aminata Draman Traore, our aunt, very brilliant, exceptionally brilliant. I followed one of her speeches. She said, but Emmanuel Macron had just returned from China with a contract of 13 billion euros for French companies. But the same Macron asks African countries not to collaborate with China, but that's witchcraft, really. That's where we are. And they highlight, they tell their public, these people are completely anti-French. I said, but what does it mean to be anti-French? There are French companies here doing business. There's Orange here. They have many hotels. They have many restaurants. No, we are saying to respect our sovereignty and to accept and especially understand that we are sovereign countries and that it is us who must decide with whom we should have partnerships or not. And taking into account our interests, how can it be explained that Niger, which produces uranium that supplies electricity to France, is itself 80% unelectrified? How can this be explained? And any head of state of Niger who tries to talk about it is systematically eliminated. It's Amani Touré, who was nevertheless France's man when he came to power. We know how Bakary Diallo was sidelined, Amani Touré, but his wife was murdered. Why? Then Mamadou Tanja, how was he overthrown? We know how Mamadou came to power. We know how Bazoum came to power. And we know why Bazoum was making such speeches. We know who was behind Bazoum pushing him. Africans are not naive. They want to maintain a system that aims to ensure the development of certain countries outside Africa and ensure the poverty, the artificial impoverishment of Africa, so that African children throw themselves into the Mediterranean just to go wash dishes there. Wait, that would be nothing. Or be gods, security personnel. Our children, African children, take the risk. Many die in the desert for those regions over there because they have set up a system aimed at impoverishing Africa so that even our birth rate becomes a threat to them. At the same time, they are asking the women over there.
Ask couples there to have more children. They ask Africans not to make more children because they know how much they are impoverishing Africa and more African population. It requires more resources in Africa. So it will push the Africans to open their eyes more to what awaits them, and they will have less to work with. So even our birth rate becomes a threat to them. And for that, it is necessary to put some people at the head of some African countries who will do their business, that will roll for them, as if it is Drama Watara came to power in the armored, in the tanks of the French army. Someone will say, yes, he was elected. I said, he is elected by whom at the time? What does Ivorian rights say? It is the Constitutional Council that commemorates the winners no matter what, that the Commission will declare. It is not an electoral commission to declare who is the winner. The Electoral Commission. See statement, it is provisional, but the final declaration. She comes from the Constitutional Council. It is not in France there. It is not an electoral commission. Who will do this? An electoral commission. A commission. We say a commission. And then, the commission that proclaims something out of time, the Constitutional Council, the supreme body empowered to announce final results. Yet President Laurent Gbagbo victorious. No, Sarkozy says no. It's the Robert Brugi that no. We must take into account what the commission said. He makes fun of the texts of Constitution. These people are barbarians, and these gentlemen of the right and the left. What else do they prefer? He was running after Sarkozy hereafter. It's French Hollande now. He is with Emmanuel Macron. Macron calls him, he runs. It goes to Macron. But only these are the plans that need to be implemented. And it is gone. It must be prepared by the DGSCP. And during this time, it is us that we acquire. We say, you are in trouble with all the neighbors. I said, wait. Our military have crossed which border to go and attack which neighbor, and it is when it has not. It's not true. We sent militias to attack which neighboring country? Nobody. We have sent militias, go set fire to these of which country neighbor? Nobody. And if we had hosted someone in our home who would attack, I don't know about refineries or offshore exploiting tricks from a country. We did not. Do we host groups? Isquil's groups here, at home, who are committing abuses in certain countries. Neighbors do not. But then why is it? We are accused of being the aggressors and not the aggressors. Within the framework of Zelensky's species, all of Europe says we must help it, is to attack him, but we, in our framework species attack, we say no. To attack them there, it is necessary to push them more. They found Africans doing everything, who run behind their narrative that accept, who swallow the whole pill, and all I needed was the courage to make resolutions. Since Ava, on June 18th, 2026, to call the Burkina, to allow their propaganda media to continue pouring their venom in the brain of our fellow citizens. We do not agree. It is not to make the propaganda of all. We talk about everything. It is all who are supporting in Kaczynski. We want to do deploy stuff along our borders. Countries that accept this, that they know how to keep right, and that I'm right, keep. Because the other side of LA is always possible. If we do the same thing, what will it end with? Because until when will we let you? And then we will continue to talk about good neighborliness, to talk about this. Until when you will continue to test our patience. Continue but one day without doubt. Don't be surprised. Don't call us these days a bad. Because it's been a long time that we, our populations are dying. And that's enough, people of Africa. We thank you.
To understand why this is a massive escalation, you have to look at what has been happening on the ground. General Issa explicitly links this to recent devastating events in the region, such as the major ambush against the Malian army in Tinzawatin. Following that battle, Ukrainian officials openly suggested or claimed a level of involvement in supporting the forces fighting the Malian state. General Issa's analysis ties these pieces together. The diplomatic infrastructure since 2022, Ukraine, with the active logistic backing of French intelligence, has been rapidly expanding its diplomatic footprint across West Africa, opening multiple new embassies. The second is the logistic pipeline. General Issa points to concrete physical evidence, highlighting a specific incident involving a Ukrainian cargo plane that landed in Ivory after tracking directly through a French military base. Third, the intelligence and training. He knows that captured fighters on the ground have actively confessed to receiving direct training and technical equipment from foreign instructors operating through this exact pipeline. This isn't just about infantry. It is about the technology of warfare. General Issa brings up a critical piece of hardware that proves in his eyes that the Sahel has become an extension of European battlefields. Drones. When local security forces neutralize advanced reconnaissance and attack drones in the Sahel, they aren't fighting locally built or basic commercial equipment. Issa says plainly that the serial numbers, designs, and capabilities of these drones match the exact hardware manufactured for and utilized in the Ukrainian conflict. Hardware meant for Eastern Europe is actively being diverted to West Africa to target the militaries of the Alliance of Sahel states. For Issa, this exposes a massive hypocrisy. He asks how a nation like Ukraine, which constantly appeals to the world for solidarity because it is under foreign aggression, can simultaneously export its military expertise, personnel, and hardware to launch covert aggressions against sovereign African states. To understand why General Issa speaks with such intense urgency, you have to look at the historical context he builds. He views the current actions of leaders like Alassane Ouattara not as isolated policy decisions, but as a continuation of an old destructive cycle. Issa walks us through a grim history of West African leadership, drawing a direct line from the post-colonial era to the present day. The extraction, hypocrisy, he uses the stark example of Niger. For decades, Niger has been one of the world's top producers of high-grade uranium, fueling the nuclear reactors that keep the lights on and the industries running in France. Yet, on the ground, roughly 80% of the Niger's own population lives completely in the dark without access to electricity. Issa argues that any leader who has historically tried to break this economic asymmetry has been systematically eliminated or pushed out. Issa goes all the way back to the chaotic 2010 elections in Côte d'Ivoire to explain how Ouattara originally came to power. He reminds the audience that, according to Ivorian law, only the Constitutional Council has the ultimate authority to declare a president, and that body declared Lieutenant Gbagbo the winner. Yet, external military intervention by the French army bypassed local constitutional law entirely to install Ouattara. The true objective of this system, according to General Issa, is the deliberate artificial impoverishment of the African continent. He calls the renowned African intellectual Aminata Dramani Traore to highlight the profound double standard of international relations. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa, West Africa, and in Ivory Coast.